Welcome to an in-depth segment on evaluation writing. This part will help you to explore an author's purpose. An author's purpose is their entire reason for writing a piece. It's the breath they put into their piece to reach their intended audience. Without purpose, the writing falls flat or fails to reach the audience at all. You could say that the purpose is the motivation behind a piece of writing. Sometimes the purpose is clearly stated, and sometimes it takes a little bit of digging to get to the meaning behind a piece. The reason understanding author purpose is so important is because it can tell you if the author is writing with any form of bias. What is bias, you ask? To boil down to the most basic of forms, author bias is when an author allows their personal feelings to influence their writing. Now, this is an almost impossibility to avoid, especially with as heated as things can get nowadays on specific topics. While personal bias can cloud the way an author writes, it can also provide the writer with their purpose. The important thing for you as an article analyst to understand is that bias can either work for the benefit of the article or against it. It's up to you to determine which way things go for this. As you read, the purpose of the piece may or may not be clear to you the first go-around. The best way to identify purpose is to ask yourself some pointed questions. The first question is a great starting point. Why do I think the author wrote this piece? The reason you ask why you specifically think this is because your thoughts matter. This is your analysis after all. You'll want to follow this up with the information provided in the piece. See if you can discern why the author used that specific information. What benefit was there to using that information? What effect did that information have on the audience, and why? Next, think about the author's intent for this piece. Is the intention behind this piece clear? If so, what is the intention? And what makes you think that? If the intentions are not clear, why are they not clear? And why would the author hide their intentions? What could be gained by doing so? Next, more carefully examine the information used by the author in the article. Is that information providing a fact, an opinion, or a piece of propaganda? How do you know? And why would the author use that specific type of information? What is gained by using that type of information? And what effect does that type of information have on the reader? The next question you'll want to ask when looking at the purpose is the point of view of the author. Does the author present their writing in an objective manner that is impartial and free from bias? Or does the author seem to lean one way or the other? How do you know this? What about the writing tells you that there's an impartial point of view? Or what about the writing tells you that there's a biased point of view? Your final question when identifying the purpose of a piece is to ask yourself if there are any forms of bias present. Bias can present itself in a number of ways. There could be political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or even personal bias. This is because we are all shaped and formed by our experiences and the things that influence our lives and our thoughts. This is important to keep in mind when writing an analysis or doing any form of research. Being able to identify bias in writing will help you to recognize when the author might be attempting to sway you to their point of view through various rhetorical strategies. And knowing how to spot these items also makes you a better writer yourself. In order to analyze purpose, you want to be able to go through each of the subsections I outlined for you. Carefully evaluate each area and see what you can apply to the article that you've been asked to analyze. With the right article, these questions alone could help you reach the 2-page marker. That doesn't even entail the other aspects of analysis there are to cover. I've seen a lot of students use these question stems as the starters to their paragraphs. They would delete the questions before they turned in their writing and smooth out the flow of the piece by adding transitions. Give that a try and see what you can come up with for the article's purpose. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out using that email icon. And thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you on the flip side.